Om Shri Rama, Sundara Flight across the ocean. Hanuman folded his hands and said, May your words come true. May I succeed in bringing Rama and Sita together again. He was inspired with a tremendous zeal to perform the task given to him. He said, To take the jump, I will have to press my foot hard upon the earth. I must climb a hill for that. With his huge, magnificent form, he went atop Mahendra Hill. He directed his mind to Rama first and felt the Lord's blessing. Then, with his yoga-centered mind, he concentrated on his task, telling himself that he must cross the sea and find Sita in Lanka. He then offered prayers to Surya, Indra and Brahma. Turning east, he did obeisance to his father Vayu. Then turning south, he increased his stature still further. His hair bristled and stood on end. He pressed his foot down hard on the hill. It trembled under the pressure. Streams of water gushed forth from rocks. The trees shed all their flowers and quivered as if in a mighty storm. The animals panicked and rushed out of their caves. Veins of a variety of colored ores flowered out in molten streams. Serpents hissed out, spitting venom. And Hanuman stood there, regal and splendid, shining like 1,000 suns, brilliant with the flowers on his body, gnashing his teeth, lashing his tail, roaring in triumph, striking fear into the hearts of creatures for many miles around. Then he contracted his muscles, stiffened his hind parts, folded back his ears, and with a mighty roar that rent the heavens, he sped across the sky like a blazing comet. His huge body with outspread arms looked like a big mountain with wings. His shadow upon the sea was like a great black rain-bearing cloud. His eyes shone like twin forest fires, and his nose glowed like the red of the evening sun. Maruti had to meet a number of obstacles on the way, which he did by keeping his wits about him. As he was flying, a mighty mountain suddenly obstructed his way. He struck it with his chest and subdued it. Then the mountain spoke, My name is Mainaka. I have come up to offer you my hospitality at the request of the Ocean King. He is a great friend of the Sagara race, of which Rama is a descendant. It is his desire that I should do my bit to help Rama. Do therefore take a little rest on me. You will be refreshed and will be able to carry out your search more efficiently. Hanuman affectionately stroked Mainaka and said, Thank you so much, Mainaka. I shall rest on you another time. Now the vow I have taken is such that it does not permit any waste of time. Therefore allow me to proceed. Mainaka bowed deeply and Hanuman blazed another trail across the sky. Sometime later, a monster emerged from the ocean and bade him enter its mouth. Hanuman said, Please do not stop me now. I am going on a very important mission. Nonsense, retorted the monster. I am very hungry and quite determined that you shall enter my mouth. Hanuman thought quickly. Then he increased his body to a size bigger than the monster's mouth. The monster, who was really the Naga maiden, Surasa, out to test Hanuman, increased the size of her mouth also. As Hanuman's body increased, so too Surasa's mouth increased. When it had attained a very wide gape, Hanuman at once shrunk his body to a speck. He darted into her mouth and out again. Then he resumed his former shape. He laughed and said, I have fulfilled your wish, mother. Now please let me go. Surasa blessed him and said, My son, I was only testing you. I feel quite certain that your mission will be successful. On and on sped Maruti. But Surasa was not the last of his trials. He felt at one time as if his passage was being obstructed by an unknown force. He looked this way and that, but could not make out what was resisting his movement. Then he looked down and saw an ugly Rakshasi who said, "Come, come, I have not had a good meal for ages." "I've been waiting for a juicy morsel just like you." Hanuman entered her mouth and ripped away out of her body again. The Rakshasi died and sank to the bottom of the ocean. Thus, relying on his great strength, quick wit, and subtle thinking, he survived many trials and finally alighted on the golden shores of Lanka. Hanuman thought, "At last, now I can really start my search for Sita. I must make myself small and inconspicuous so that the Rakshasas do not notice me." He shrunk himself to the size of a little monkey and alighted on a hilltop. From there he surveyed the golden city of Lanka. The white sands glistened in the sun. The coconut palms and plantain groves were being played upon gently by the sea breeze. The sea itself was calm and murmured gently as it embraced the shores of Lanka. Hanuman sat on the hill and surveyed the island. In magnificence and splendor, it equaled Indra's Amaravati and Kupera's Alakapuri. He saw the city as it stood high and aloof on the Mount Trikuta. He marveled at its engineering devices, its moats, its novel methods of protection. It seemed the last word in an efficiently planned city. After the first flush of excitement at having entered Lanka, Hanuman sat down and thought soberly for some time. He said to himself, "By merely crossing the ocean, I have achieved nothing. I have yet to find Sita if these wicked Rakshasas have not already killed her. But what army will be able to cross the ocean? Even if it does, how will it ever attack this heavily guarded city? I will have to be very careful before I take the next step. All will be lost if I make the slightest mistake now, either due to carelessness or negligence." Here we can see how wise and thoughtful Maruti was. He is rightly known as Buddhimatam Varishtham, wise among the wisest. He decided then that since he would not be able to slip past the guards during the day, it would be best to enter the city at night. The sun set quietly. Darkness slowly crept over the city. Hanuman shrank himself to a little monkey no bigger than a cat. He started prowling round the city wall. The moon rose and shed its soft light all around. Maruti was grateful because this would make his search easier. As he was looking around inquisitively, he was suddenly stopped by a fierce-looking Rakshasi. "Hey, you little monkey, where do you think you're going?" she asked. Hanuman said, "Indeed, I'm just a little monkey. I'm looking at your lovely city. I will amuse myself for some time, then go back." The Rakshasi dealt him a blow, which Hanuman returned with a casual uppercut on her jaw. The Rakshasi reeled and fell. She nursed her bruised jaw and remembered the prophecy that when a monkey's blow would make her fall, the end of the Rakshasa race would not be far away. She saluted Hanuman and allowed him to enter the city. She realized that now the time had come when Ravana would have to answer for his many sins. She was the goddess guardian, the spirit of the city, and she had surrendered to the might of Hanuman. Now Hanuman moved from place to place, enchanted with everything he saw, like a child at a fun fair. There were flags and festoons flying from every mansion top. Streets were sprinkled with flower petals. There were a number of temples and palaces with gold cupolas. People were absorbed in doing their own work. The evening lamps had been lit in houses. Vedic hymns were being chanted. Some people sang the praises of their king. There were armed soldiers patrolling the streets. Fierce Rakshasas guarded the important buildings. People were of all races and complexions. They were from fair to brown to black. The buildings had the most perfect architecture. No wonder, for the city had been planned by Vishwakarma. The carved roofs were supported by marble pillars studded with sparkling gems and precious stones. The gardens wafted delicate perfumes. The flowers at night looked strange and artificial. Fountains spurted colored water. People gave themselves up to the evening pleasure of dance and music. Hanuman searched from palace to palace, courtyard to courtyard, corridor to corridor, and room to room. But no Sita could he find. There were many lovely ladies lounging, relaxing, talking, singing, and dancing. Each one was more beautiful than the other. They outshone in beauty and accomplishments even the Apsaras of Indrapuri. They were in gorgeous silks and heavy jewelry. Their hair was styled with great care. Their anklets made sweet music as they walked and flitted from place to place. But even among these, he could not spot Sita. Finally, Hanuman entered the bedchambers of Ravana's palace. The womanly charms that he saw here would have deluded even the most highly controlled minds. But Hanuman had his mind ever fixed in concentration on the Lord and his work. How could other thoughts enter his mind then? Some ladies were sleeping on beds covered with heavy velvet and gold tassels. Some lay drooping over their musical instruments. Some talked softly and laughed among themselves. Some played a game of chess. Some looked tipsy and heavy lidded with wine. On the huge bed of solid gold, inlaid with rubies and diamonds, curtained with heavy gold worked silk, Ravana lay stretched out in regal splendor. Even in sleep, he looked every inch a king. Some of his wives sat there pressing his feet. Hanuman peered at every lady, but none of them could fit his mental image of Sita. He reproached himself for even thinking for a moment that Sita could be in such a place of sensual pleasures, the inner apartments of a wicked monarch who knew nothing apart from wine and women. Now, having searched the entire city, Hanuman stole out of the king's palace into the courtyard. He sat on the wall, sad and dejected. Where could Sita be? Had the vile Ravana killed her? Had she been devoured by hungry Rakshasas? Oh, what would be Rama's condition if he reported failure? As he sat there, such gloomy thoughts running through his mind, he looked out over the wall. He saw a garden with all sorts of flowers and fruit trees, but most of the trees were the Ashoka trees. Their leaves with rippled edges shimmered in the dim light of the moon. Now here was a garden he had not searched. This was the lovely Ashokavana. Hanuman once again meditated on the Lord. He said to himself, if ever there is a place in Lanka where Sita will be, this is it. He wandered about freely in this garden of an almost unreal beauty. Here and there, standing, sitting, talking, or walking, he saw a number of Rakshasis. These Rakshasis cackled and laughed. Their laughter was as harsh as a hyena's and as eerie as the howling of wolves. Hanuman's spine tingled as he saw their grotesque, ugly forms. Some were short and fat, some were tall and thin. Some had only one eye or nose, some had none at all. Some had bald heads, some had their entire bodies covered with hair. Some had the faces of lions, some of tigers, some of bears, some of wolves. Some had huge bellies, some had long, fang-like teeth. They carried all sorts of weapons, clubs, spears, and maces. In their hands were bits of meat and flesh still dripping blood. Such then were the awful people he saw in the beautiful Ashoka grove. Now the moon crept out slowly from behind a stray cloud in the sky. In its silver light, Hanuman saw a lovely, lonely lady sitting under one of the trees. Her hair hung down loose to her waist. Her clothes were simple. She had a pale face, cheeks stained with tears. Her eyes were red and swollen with constant weeping. Her hands were clasped to her breast. Her lips trembled as she constantly repeated the name Rama. Hanuman had no difficulty in guessing who this was. He felt himself purified by the darshan of the noble and virtuous consort of Ramachandra. Even in her present state of deepest dejection and utter despair, she looked lovely. Lovely only as a lotus can in the midst of mire, only as a creeper can when its support is removed, only as a calf can when it has lost its mother cow. Suddenly, Hanuman heard a hustle and bustle, and he heard subdued voices. He heard the tinkling bells of anklets. He heard the soft laughter of women. He turned and looked in the direction of the sound. It came from Ravana's palace. A short while later, he saw Ravana approaching with a select retinue of his women and wives. He was dressed in spotless white silk. His dark body gleamed in contrast. The diamond crown adorned his head, and many precious necklaces rested on his chest. He walked with long regal strides. Truly, no king more magnificent ever ruled the earth. The women with him showered fragrant flowers, sprinkled water, and carried incense perfumed torches. Hanuman hid himself more cleverly among the thick leaves. Sita turned a shade paler as she saw the advancing figure of Ravana. She shivered slightly and turned her head away. Ravana stood before her and said, "O beautiful one, why do you turn your head away from me, who loves you so much? You need not fear me. Why do you not accept my affection? O loveliest of women, it does not suit you to throw away all jewels and nice clothes and sleep on the bare floor with unkempt hair. You could enjoy so much happiness in my court by being my wife. You can have all the wealth and pleasures of the world at your feet. What can that wretched Rama give you? Even the goddess of wealth has forsaken him. Why do you pine and weep for him? Look at me. I am the most powerful king in the world. I have vanquished all the devas and asuras. They all stand before me with their heads bowed. How can Rama ever equal me? I have performed the most difficult austerities and have won the world's wealth, strength, and glory thereby. Do you not see the advantages of marrying me? O Sita, queen among women, I have never begged with anyone like this before. You are the first person with whom I am pleading. Yet you refuse me. Marry me, and I promise you the wealth of the three worlds and the undying affection of the world's greatest monarch." How each sentence, each word must have burned Sita's ears. Even with her mind fixed on Rama, she trembled at the very thought of living with Ravana. Oh, fie! How could this vile creature even think that she would yield to his lustful desire? Wicked Ravana, drunk and intoxicated with the wine of his own powers and achievements, blinded to reason and logic, indifferent to virtues of morality and decency, swayed by the passionate flow of his mind, thus praised himself and pleaded with her. Sita plucked a blade of grass and placing it between them spoke. "O Ravana," she said, "listen to me. Do not entertain such vain and foolish thoughts. Do not walk on the path of adharma. Only ruin lies that way. Do you not know that it is wrong to cast eyes on another's wife? Yet why do you persist in this sin? Do you not know that when a king loses his self-control, both his kingdom and wealth are destroyed? Heed my words of warning. I speak for your own good. I have married Sri Rama. I belong to him, body, mind, and soul, and to none other. I, who have held his hand, can never touch another. Forever and I belong to him. I belong to him the way the Vedas belong to one who has mastered them with love and respect. Ravana, leave this wicked, sinful desire of your heart. Go back to your own wives and be happy. Do not deliberately seek Rama's arrows. Beg his forgiveness. He has a kind and generous heart. He will surely pardon you. If you continue to plague me like this, you cannot escape the fury of Rama's rage. Of this you can be sure. Sita's inborn virtue and goodness made her thus advise Ravana for his good, even though he had given her so much trouble. Her purity gave her courage to put on a bold face and kick the enormous wealth he offered her. She who had roamed the hard forest floor with her bare feet, who had forsaken the comforts of the palace in order to be by her husband's side, now treated Ravana's offer of worldly pleasures and untold riches as she would treat dirt and dust. Ravana was furious to see her so adamant. He stormed at her and said, Sita, beware, you will pay the price for rejecting my love and throwing insults at my face. Had I not loved you, you would have been long dead by now. I give you another 2 months to make up your mind. If at the end of that time you still feel the way you do, you will be cut up and served for my breakfast. He turned on his heel and with his moustache bristling and eyes emitting fire, he strode away towards his palace. Sita and Hanuman. When Ravana had left, the Rakshasis crowded round Sita and started worrying her. One said, How foolish you are! It is because you are human and have no sense. Another said, The proper place for you is Ravana's bedchamber. Another said, What do you think yourself anyway? The guts you have to refuse a person like Ravana? One Rakshasi said, I am in the family way. I will eat her up. One said, Let us share her limbs. Let us finish her off before she gets any thinner. Another said, Run, fetch some sauce and strong liquor. Ah, how I long to drink her blood. Sita grew frightened when she heard all this talk. She gasped aloud and her throat was choked. Silent, hot tears flowed down her cheeks. Between her sobs, she kept saying, Rama, oh my lord, when will you come? I can bear this no more. Oh, when will I set eyes on you again? Save me from these Rakshasas. O Lord of my heart, save me, dear Rama. Thus she wept. One of the Rakshasis, one called Trijata, was a wise woman. She had love for the feet of the Lord. She was a woman with a discriminative intellect. She said to the Rakshasis, Stop worrying her, will you? No good will come of persecuting her. Her husband is the avatara of Vishnu. Sita is his consort. I have dreamt that Rama will come and destroy Lanka. Ravana's 10 heads will roll on the ground. There will be continuous weeping and wailing. We had best now pray for the Lord's grace. So saying, she bowed before Sita. Now all this time, Maruti was sitting on the tree, hidden by the thick foliage, watching with interest the goings on below. He decided that it was not enough just to see Sita. He had to speak to her and give her Rama's message. But how was he to present himself to her? He did not want her to be startled or frightened. Should he appear as a Brahmin? As an ordinary messenger? In his true form as a monkey? Finally, he decided that he would remain in the form of the little monkey he already was. By now, almost all the Rakshasis had fallen asleep. Others were dozing off. Sita's left eyelids, side and foot started throbbing. She suddenly felt very hopeful and courageous, as if good events were to happen. Maruti sat on the tree above her and in low, sweet tones started reciting the story of Rama. He spoke of King Dasharatha and Queen Kaikeyi, of Rama's exile, of the Rakshasas he killed, of the glories he achieved, of the golden deer, of Sita's kidnapping, of Rama's sorrow, of his meeting with Sugriva, of his own Hanuman's flight over the ocean and entry into Lanka. He concluded by saying, "And now, as I sit here, I can see one whose form and features are like those described by Sri Rama." Sita was thrilled with wonder and delight. Who was this singing so sweetly the praises of her Lord? She looked up but saw no human form to match the beauty of the speech. She only saw a cute little monkey looking at her and with wide, trusting eyes sitting there on the branch of the tree, shining like a small sun. Can one describe the joy that surged through Hanuman's being when Sita looked up at him for the first time, her eyes shining with new hope and cheer? The Lord too waits for us to look at him with love, and once our hearts are cleansed, he enters. Leaving Sheshanaga on the ocean of milk, he comes to live in our hearts, to reign supreme, sharing his throne with none. Sita said, "Who is this who sings so sweetly the story of my Lord? O Agni, Vachaspati, Swayambhu, I salute you. Let this be a messenger from my Lord. O gods, let it be true. Let it be true. Let it not be a figment of my imagination. Because I think of Rama the whole day. Oh, let it be my Lord's messenger." She closed her eyes and prayed. Her throat muscles worked with deep emotion. Maruti quietly climbed down the tree and stood before Sita with palms folded. "Mother," he said, "I am indeed Rama's messenger. Everything is as I have related in the story earlier. I have been sent to seek you out and bring back news of you. Mine is the joy of seeing Rama's beloved." Sita said, "O Vanara friend, my child, you come from my Lord. Tell me, how is he? How is Lakshmana? Has Rama forgotten me? Does he still love me? Does he fret for me? Oh, tell me, when will he come? If he does not arrive at the end of 2 months, I shall throw myself onto a fire and burn to death rather than fall into Ravana's hands." Hanuman, in his eagerness to console her, took a step forward and said, "Do not worry. Rama will soon be at Lanka's gates with a huge Vanara army." He was about to continue, but Sita shrank away. Doubt crept into her heart and she said, "No, don't come any nearer. I know who you are. You are Ravana in disguise. Come to fool me with your sweet words. I tell you, you shameless creature, you vile Rakshasa, I will never listen to you. Never, never." Hanuman was pained at this and said, "Mother, you do me wrong. Have faith in me. I pray you. I am Rama's devoted servant. It would have been impossible for me to cross the ocean without his grace. Here then is a ring he took off from his very own finger to give you." Sita took the ring. Her eyes flooded with tears of love. Oh, how often she had seen it on his dear finger. She pressed it to her eyes. Truly, Sita belonged to her Lord so completely that no other thought would even enter her mind. Hanuman told her what a strict, austere life Rama was leading, and hearing of his troubles, she forgot her own. Every human being passes through phases of happiness and sorrow, sometimes both at the same time. This was such a time for Sita. She felt a nectar-like happiness at her husband's great love for her, but it was mingled with poison-like sorrow at the troubles he was undergoing for her sake. Maruti said, "Mother, now that I have found you, there is no point in wasting time. Pure-hearted one, sit upon my shoulders. With one leap I have reached the shores of Lanka. With one jump I shall reach back again. You will be again united with Rama. Everyone will be happy." Sita saw the lovely little monkey before her and wondered how this task could be accomplished. Hanuman sensed her doubt and smiled. He stood on the platform and increased his form. He grew to the size of Trivikrama. Trivikrama is Vishnu, that is Vamana Avatara, who covered the whole universe in 3 giant strides. Sita gazed with awe and happiness. Then he shrank to his former size of a small monkey. Sita blessed him and said, "Bless you, my child. You will surely achieve great deeds, but I cannot come with you. My Lord must rescue me. It is a question of my honor. Rama must fight for it with his bows and arrows." Hanuman said, "You are right. Do not lose heart, my queen. I shall go back at once, and soon the Vanara warriors will be hammering at Lanka's gates. Rama and Lakshmana will destroy the wicked Rakshasas. Rama's arrows will vanquish the might of Ravana and humble his pride in death." Sita blessed Hanuman. She did not want him to leave her yet. At the same time, she wanted him to go as soon as possible and fetch Rama. She said, "The gods speed you, O son of Vayu. Go back and bring Rama and Lakshmana. Tell Rama that my mind constantly dwells on him. Tell Lakshmana I remember his love and devotion to me." She remembered now his great heroism and loyalty and was pained at the injustice she had done him when she had sent him after Rama, who had gone for the golden deer. Then she said, "Hanuman, here is the jewel my mother had given me at the time of my wedding. Give it to Sri Rama as a token from me." She untied a knot in her sari and handed him a bright, beautiful jewel. Hanuman received it with love and reverence. Hanuman bowed profoundly before Sita. He said, "Mother, now there will be no delay. Soon you will see me approaching Lanka with Rama and Lakshmana placed on my mighty shoulders. You will hear the war whoops of the Vanaras. You will see them dance in joy over the ruins of Lanka. I beg your leave now." Sita said, "Son, my thoughts will be with you. Go now and come back soon." The princess glowed with renewed hope and cheer. The Vanara shone with divinity. Here we shall meditate on the mother blessing Hanuman. The Devas showering flowers from heaven. Manojavam Maruta Tulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtam Vatadmajam Vanara Yuta Mukyam Sri Ramadudam Sharanam Prabhadye. Let us invoke the blessing of this messenger of the Lord, he who travels at will with the speed of the wind, he whose senses are controlled and who is first among the astute, he who is the foremost among all Vanaras. Hanuman invites battle. When Hanuman left Sita, he sat on the wall of the Ashoka park for a while and thought of a way in which the faith and courage of Sita would be increased. He then expanded, and from a small, innocent-looking monkey, he grew and grew till he became a really fierce-looking Vanara. And as he grew, his body glowed brighter. Then he gave a mighty roar which rent the heavens. The very foundations of Lanka trembled. Fear struck the hearts of the people. The Rakshasis woke up, and terrified, they watched Hanuman. The mighty Vanara, quite determined to strike terror into the Ravana's heart, now jumped and frisked all over the garden, eating what fruit he wished, uprooting trees and hurling them away. He trampled on plants and flower beds, destroyed statues and fountains, spoiled the beautiful bowers and grottos, and disfigured the lovely tanks and arbors, grounds and seats. The most beautiful garden in Lanka was now a mass of ruin. Hanuman enjoyed his little game immensely. He roared each time he derived a new pleasure in uprooting the trees and flinging them away. The Rakshasis, now scared beyond their wits, ran to tell Ravana that a strange, huge monkey was laying waste his beautiful garden. Some stayed behind and questioned Sita thus, "Who's that monkey? We are sure you know about him. Were you not having a secret talk with him? He must surely be your friend. Else how is it that he leaves alone the Shimshapa tree you sit under and destroy the rest of the Vatika?" Sita replied, "How should I know who he is? One can never tell what may happen in such a place of enchantment. He must be one of your Rakshasas." Maruti, now having laid waste Ravana's favorite garden, sat at the garden gate, happy and grinning. Ravana was furious and bubbling with rage when he heard of the deeds of this unknown Vanara. How dared he destroy the park reserved for his favorite queens? He sent a huge Rakshasa force to kill or bring Hanuman alive into his presence. Hanuman saw the approaching Rakshasas, brave. He jumped down from the gate and increased his size even more. He lashed his tail on the ground and plucked an iron bar from the gate. With this weapon in hand, he brandished it as a mace and within no time had mixed the flesh and blood of the Rakshasas with the dirt of the ground. Ravana's anger grew. What? What? How dare this wretched monkey? He must be taught the lesson of a lifetime. He yelled out for a well-known and powerful Rakshasa, Jambumali, and asked him to go out and meet the challenge. Maruti roared out, "Long live Rama! Long live Lakshmana! Long live Sugriva! The entire city will be destroyed by me, who am the servant of the Lord." He leaped onto a temple top and seized one of its pillars as though it were a wisp of willow. With this in hand, he knocked down the sentries of the temple and fought the advancing Jambumali, who was dressed in scarlet with dangling gold earrings and a garland of flowers round his neck. He hailed arrows one after the other on Hanuman. Some of them struck his face and drew blood, which made him glow brighter. This enraged Maruti, who swung the pillar in the air a number of times and then, with a terrific force, hurled it at Jambumali. His chariot was smashed to smithereens, and he became just a mass of flesh from which one could not make out the head or body or limbs. Ravana, now hopping mad, sent his brave son Aksha to meet this monkey foe. Aksha was a valiant fighter with youth and strength on his side. Hanuman felt an admiration for this young boy who was so thirsty for battle. He played around a bit with him, hurling first a tree, then a boulder. But Aksha was a very good fighter. He rained arrows on Hanuman from all sides. Now Hanuman realized it was time for him to finish off this Rakshasa prince before he became too dangerous. Very soon, Aksha too was lying in the dust, senseless, lifeless. When Ravana got news of his son's death, his rage became terrible to see. Hot tears flowed down his cheeks like burning drops of oil. He looked at his son Indrajit as if in silent command. Indrajit rose. The Rakshasas looked at him hopefully. Ah, how brave was their young prince! Had he not defeated Indra in battle, surely a mere monkey would be a small job for him. Ravana too felt confident. Indrajit had defeated any number of devas and asuras. He had performed severe austerities and won the Brahmastra from Brahma. He was tireless and strong. Indrajit received his father's blessing. Then, climbing into Ravana's chariot, one after great tapasya, armed with shining bows and arrows, the chariot drawn by 4 fierce lions, Indrajit clattered down towards the garden gate where Hanuman had gone back to sit. Indrajit saw Hanuman sitting there and was thrilled with joy to see the perfect proportion of the Vanara's body. He knew he had met his match and looked forward to an exciting battle. Hanuman rose and, roaring victory to Rama, Lakshmana, and Sugriva, expanded in size. He grew till now he resembled a golden range of mountains rising to meet the sky. In majesty and terror, never was there such a battle fought between two equals. Indrajit used one divine astra after another. Maruti met them all in midair and put them down easily. The celestial beings in the heavens gathered to watch this mighty battle. The Rakshasas too watched awestruck. Their amazement grew as they saw the matched strength and skill of the two warriors. No matter how many times he was hurt, Maruthi's strength seemed inexhaustible. Indrajit remembered his father's warning that this monkey was a formidable foe. So he now decided to use his Brahmastra. He aimed it well and let go. The Brahmastra had Maruti bound and helpless. Maruti remembered the boon Brahma had given him, that the effect of the astra would last for only one muhurta, little less than an hour. So, although he had to lie inactive and inert, he was not unduly concerned. The Rakshasas, when they saw Maruti fall, crowded round him. They danced with glee, insulting him in a number of ways and praising their prince. Some said, "Let us cut him up, let us eat him." Others said, "Let us drag him into our king's presence." And still others said, "That fellow is only pretending, let us tie him up first." They went and fetched coconut and jute fibers and bound Maruti hand and foot. Indrajit watched with horror what they had done. He thought, "Alas, what foolish Rakshasas! They have wasted all my efforts. They do not understand the secret of divine astras. Once tied with physical bonds, the supernatural weapon withdraws its power. The bond of the mantra is undone. Now Hanuman is held only by the coconut and jute ropes, which he can burst any time he feels like." Hanuman too noticed this folly of the Rakshasas, but he did not break his bonds. He welcomed this opportunity to meet and speak to Ravana. He saw chances of acting as Rama's messenger. He saw the possibility of making Ravana listen to reason, saw the chance of peace even at this late juncture. Fire, fire, fire. Hanuman allowed himself to be dragged by these ropes which bound him. He endured the insults and blows of the Rakshasas. The women and children came out into the streets to jeer at him. They poked fun at him and pelted him with sticks and stones. With Rakshasa hordes following him, Hanuman was dragged into the presence of Ravana. He was keenly aware of the shining splendor of the court he had entered. He was aware of the ministers trembling in front of their king. Above all, he was aware of the majestic splendor of Ravana himself. Ravana looked at Hanuman, his magnetic, penetrating eyes red and burning. Each of his 10 heads was more splendid than the other. The 1,000 gems of his crowns blinded the eyes with a dazzling brightness. The jewels on his chest sparkled and shone. The red silk of his dress was the finest of its kind. He looked like a huge mountain, glorious like the sun itself. Ravana had earned great merit by doing severe penance. This added to his regal personality. The effects of this made the Tejas sparkle from every pore of his body. As his anger towards this monkey increased, so did the glow of his form, till at one time he looked as fierce and shining as the sun at its zenith in the sky. He looked at Hanuman now with mingled anger and wonder. He was amazed how a mere Vanara like him could have created so much havoc, killed so many brave warriors. Hanuman too looked at Ravana with keen interest. So this was that Adharmi fool who had dared touch the pure Sita. Hanuman felt sorry for Ravana. How handsome he looked in his unmatched splendor. How the glory of his tapas shone from his face. His supernatural achievements had gone to his head. He had taken to wicked ways. He had sacrificed happiness and everlasting prosperity at the altar of pride and lust. If only this great one had not sought ruin by his acts of wickedness. Truly, none in the world could equal this monarch in radiance and splendor. As these thoughts ran through Hanuman's mind, Ravana roared at one of his ministers and said, "Ask him who he is. What is his purpose in destroying my lovely city? If he does not answer truthfully, have him hanged." Terrified, the whole court watched. The Rakshasas shook with fear as their monarch's voice boomed into the court. Hanuman, however, neither shook nor shivered. He stood straight and defiant. He thrust out his chin and spoke with great pride and dignity. "I am the messenger of Sri Rama, Prince of Ayodhya. My name is Hanuman. I am the chief minister of the powerful Vanara king Sugriva. I come to you with a message of peace. You have stolen the wife of Rama. This was wrong on your part. Even now it is not too late. Return Sita to him. Seek his forgiveness. Do not incur his rage. Rama is a friend of Sugriva, who has in his army of ferocious Vanaras the strongest and mightiest warriors of this world. If Rama advances on you with his army, none of the boons you have secured will be able to help you. Ponder over these words carefully. Your own life and the lives of your people are at stake." Hanuman spoke loud and clear, and his words rang out in the halls of the court. Ravana's eyes grew a deeper scarlet. They looked like liquid fire. He gnashed his teeth and thundered out his order to have this bold Vanara put to death instantly. Ravana's younger brother, Vibhishana, was a wise and good statesman. He spoke to Ravana quietly and said, "It is against the laws of the court to kill a messenger. At the most, you can punish him and send him away. But it would be a great wrong to kill a royal envoy." "All right," said Ravana. "A monkey's pride is his tail. Tie it up with rags dipped in oil and set fire to it. Take him out in the streets of Lanka. Let everyone see what happens to one who defies the Emperor Ravana." The Rakshasas ran, happy to collect old rags. They tied up Hanuman's tail with them. The more rags they tied, the more the tail increased in size and length. Finally, when it had grown to a considerable size, they dipped the rags in oil and set fire to his tail. Then they took the bound Vanara with his blazing tail through all the streets and bylanes of Lanka. Hanuman said nothing. He did nothing. He observed very quietly all the main buildings and strategic points of the city. He bore all the insults of the Rakshasas. They jeered at him. The women giggled and the children threw stones. They said, "Here goes the thief that entered our city. Punish him well. Look at his tail. It is on fire." Such and many other things they said to him. In the Ashoka Vatika, which now lay in a state of complete destruction and chaos, the Rakshasas went to tease Sita. She sat there protected under the lone Ashoka tree by her very purity and chastity. The demon women said, "Did you see what happened to your Vanara friend? He was bound hand and foot and dragged before Ravana. Now they have set fire to his tail and are parading him through the streets of Lanka." And they cackled hideously at what they thought was a great joke. Sorrowful Sita fervently prayed to Agni, "If I am pure and chaste, do not harm Hanuman. Be cool to him." She went round the fire and, fixing her mind on the Lord, prayed for the safety of Hanuman. For some time more, Hanuman was paraded through the city with the host of hooting Rakshasas behind him. He was surprised to find that he did not even feel the heat, leave alone the fire of Agni. He said to himself, "How great is the Lord! Even the elements do not trouble one who is engaged in the service of Sri Rama. Agni is kind to me also, because he is a friend of my father. And did not the ocean king and the mountain Mainaka offer me their help? Jai Sri Rama!" Hanuman saluted Rama in his mind. Actually, the story goes that when Maruti was a baby, he came out of the cave where he was born, and saw the sun for the first time. He thought it was a new kind of fruit. So he flew towards the sun to pluck it. Indra saw the danger to the sun and threw his thunderbolt at Maruti. The little Vanara fell down on a hill, senseless, and broke his jaw. Hanu means jaw. Hanuman means one with a big jaw. Therefore, he was known as Hanuman. When the wind god saw his beloved son knocked senseless by Indra's thunderbolt, his anger knew no bounds. He ordered all the breeze and wind in the universe to stop. The creatures of the earth suffocated. Even the gods suffocated. They all went to Vayu and begged him to lift his curse. Each god offered a special boon to Hanuman. Thus, Hanuman got the boon of being deathless and got protection from all the elements in the world. Now he felt that he had danced long enough to the tune of these Rakshasas. Time now for their next lesson. He suddenly shrank his body to a small size. The bonds and ropes dropped off. Lightly stepping out of them, he increased his size again to that of a terrible Vanara. He hopped onto the roof of the nearest building and ripped up a pillar. He brandished it as a mace and placed it on his shoulder. Then he set fire to the building. Now he leaped from one rooftop to the another. A slight breeze had started, which fanned the blazes. One building after another collapsed. Beautiful palaces caved in, one after the other. Women and children screamed and shouted. They ran out of their houses. The Rakshasas looked wide-eyed, open-mouthed, and helpless. This Vanara was verily Yama himself in disguise. It would have been best to have left him alone. Many people perished in the blazes. Many were caught in the flames. Jai Rama, Jai Lakshmana was the Vanara's roar that echoed through every street of Lanka. Smoke filled the air. Everywhere was the smell of burning. Maruti recalled the many insults he had suffered at the hands of these Rakshasas. Anger possessed Hanuman. He would not rest till he had the entire city in blazes. The conflagration made a wonderful sight. Lanka was a blazing red city. Hanuman surveyed with satisfaction his work on Mount Trikuta. He went to the seashore and put out the fire on his tail. Then he climbed the Mount Arishta for a little rest. Sad thoughts possessed him. Oh, what have I done? He said to himself. I have in my anger burnt up Lanka completely. Sita too must have perished in the flames. How should I go back to Rama? What should I tell him? Thus he lamented. But then he heard divine voices from heaven saying, Glorious indeed are Hanuman's achievements. Look how bright and red Lanka burns, while the spot where Sita sits is quite untouched and cool. Rama will surely be victorious and destroy this wicked Rakshasa race. When Hanuman heard this conversation, his heart became calm. He went once more to Ashokavana to see if Sita was really safe. Mother, he said, I have taught these Rakshasas a little lesson. Sri Rama will soon be here and teach a lesson they will indeed never forget. I go now with my report to Rama. Sita, mother of all, blessed Hanuman. He went back to the Mount Arishta. Pressing his feet down, he rose into the sky and flew back towards the mainland. He saw Mainaka on the way. He stroked affectionately on the mountain, but did not stop to rest. He streaked across the sky and soon saw the Mahendra hill in the distance. Joy surged in the pure heart of Maruti. Mentally, he saluted Mother Sita. He let out a tremendous roar. The Vanaras with Jambavan and Angada were impatiently waiting for Hanuman's return. Till now they were uncertain and sad. Their eyes were wet with tears. But now when they heard the familiar triumphant roar, their hearts filled with a swelling happiness. They climbed the trees on Mount Mahendra and eagerly waited for Maruti to land. Hanuman saw his friends and again roared his greetings. His eyes shone with joy. As he alighted on the hill, the Vanaras rushed to embrace him. There was no need to ask him anything. His eyes told them all they wanted to know. Now they had a quick discussion as to whether they should go back, destroy Lanka completely and get back Sita, or whether they should first go and report to Rama and Sugriva and receive further orders from them. Finally, they decided that it would be the best course to follow, to first make their report to Rama. The news is conveyed. The Vanaras now rose in the air and flew towards Kishkinda. They alighted in King Sugriva's protected park. They started here a small celebration. They drank all the honey from the honeycombs and ate up the choicest fruits. They rolled on the ground in happiness and swung from tree to tree. The keeper of the park, a Vanara called Dadimukha, told them to stop their misbehavior, but they just clouted him on the head and continued with their merrymaking. Dadimukha went to Sugriva and complained that the Vanaras who had gone south were back and had ruined the special park with their revelry. Sugriva understood at once. He turned to Lakshmana and said, "Happy day! I'm sure they have been successful in their mission. Therefore they are celebrating." To Dadimukha he said, "Send them to me at once without delay." Hanuman, Angada, Jambavan and the Vanaras alighted in the presence of Sugriva with cries of triumph. Rama addressed them and said, "O Vanara friends, your faces look bright and happy. Tell us, did you find Sita? How is she? Where is she? Tell us all, leaving out no detail." The Vanaras bowed their heads before Rama, Lakshmana and Sugriva. Although Hanuman was the hero of the Lanka episode, he stood modestly behind. The truly great never push themselves forward and praise their own exploits. So Jambavan the wise said, "Hanuman, tell them all that happened. You are best suited to narrate our adventure." Hanuman turned south and saluted Mother Sita. It is difficult to say here whether his reverence for Sita was more or his devotion to Rama. Actually, there was no difference at all, for were not Rama and Sita one and the same? Carefully, Hanuman gave a detailed account of all that had happened. Everyone present was wonderstruck at Hanuman's almost impossible achievements. Then he gave Rama the crest jewel, Shikamani of Sita. Rama was overwhelmed with emotion. For a moment he could say nothing. He pressed the jewel to his eyes. Then he asked Hanuman to continue with his narration. Hanuman told Rama that Sita had asked him to remind her lord of a couple of incidents that had taken place in Chitrakuta. One day, while Rama was resting with his head on Sita's lap, a crow kept coming and pecking at her. She cried out in pain. Rama sought out the crow and killed him. He turned out to be Indra's son, Jayanta, in disguise. At another time, when they were walking, the perspiration from Sita's brow had washed off her tilaka. Rama had playfully taken some red ore from a nearby rock and pressed it on her forehead. When Maruti related these instances, Rama was for some time lost in memories of his love. Then Hanuman concluded his narrative by conveying Sita's various messages to Rama and Lakshmana and her grateful thanks to Sugriva for his help. Rama felt an upsurge of great love for Hanuman as this mighty Vanara stood in humble modesty before him. His eyes swam with tears, his throat choked with emotion. "Hanuman, how shall I ever thank you for all the loving service you have rendered me? I have no words, no means. Let my embrace serve to convey to you my deep gratitude and undying love. You are indeed blessed, Hanuman. Rama took Hanuman in his arms with the love for his Sevak pouring out from his whole being. He enfolded him and held him to his bosom in a divine embrace. All the troubles, insults, and sufferings Hanuman had undergone melted away. He had felt the Lord's embrace. His eyes shone with the divine fulfillment. Forward march. Rama turned to Sugriva and said, Dear friend, our Hanuman here has indeed achieved the impossible. He has consoled Sita and given her new hope. He has brought me news of her and given me courage to carry on. Hanuman has done it. But how will we all cross the mighty ocean? How is it possible? Rama was anxious for the future. Sugriva said, There is none equal to you and Lakshmana in might and valor. My Vanaras are all brave and courageous. A hero should never have doubts. It will only make him lose confidence in himself. Do not worry. We will kill Ravana and return victorious. Rama, Lakshmana and Sugriva, Hanuman and other Vanara friends sat down to discuss their immediate plans. Hanuman told them details about Lanka's forts, moats, catapults, its means of defense and the strength of its huge army of Rakshasas. He described the wealth and grandeur of the city, of the people's tremendous love for their king and their blindness to his faults. But, he said, you can be sure our Vanara army is no less. With its mighty warriors and generals, it's quite capable of meeting this Rakshasa menace. They started their march under the auspicious star Uttar Falguni. Scouts went ahead to lead the way. The Vanara army became more and more enthusiastic as they neared the seashore. They jumped and shouted, Death to Ravana! We shall kill him! Nay, we shall kill 1,000 Ravanas! Victory to Rama! And the Vanaras surged forward like a sea in high tide. Their shouts resounded for miles around. The dust they raised covered the sky with a haze. Strong generals marched in the front and rear. Rama, Lakshmana and King Sugriva marched in the center. At times, the Vanaras would carry Rama and Lakshmana on their shoulders to make the army move faster with their leaps and bounds. At last, they reached the seashore. Rama climbed Mount Mahendra and surveyed the ocean for miles around. To Sugriva he said, Now we must plan our next move with great care. We must act quickly and carefully. There is no time to lose. Then they saw to it that the Vanaras were settled comfortably and had plenty to eat and drink. For a good general always sees that his men are comfortable, happy and cheerful. That way they serve him better. The Vanara chiefs and the brothers Rama and Lakshmana now sat down to have a council of war. The biggest problem had arisen before them. How were they to cross the sea? It would take too long to build ships and launch them, and there was no other easy, practical way. What were they to do? While they were thinking over this problem, Ravana was having an anxious time in Lanka. Ravana rejects good counsel. Ravana summoned a council of his ministers and addressed them. We have all seen how this monkey Hanuman had caused havoc in our beautiful city. He claims to be a messenger of Rama. This surely means that Rama is planning to battle with us. We are very powerful, no doubt, but we cannot afford to ignore this Vanara threat. A wise king always takes counsel with his ministers before he plans a course of action. I would like you all to give me your honest opinion in this matter. True, I have carried away Rama's wife, but I see nothing wrong in it. Ever since this monkey has wrecked Lanka, our people have grown fearful. They feel unsure of themselves. Therefore, advise how best we should strengthen our defenses and improve our mode of warfare. Let us not rely on the sea as our source of defense, for Rama's army will surely cross and come knocking at the gates of Lanka. Ravana's understanding itself was clouded. Moreover, he felt a little guilty at having been caught napping by a mere monkey. He sought the support and resources of his ministers to get his self-confidence back. The whole assembly rose and in one loud voice declared, "O mighty king, it does not seem right that you should fear the empty threat of a mere human being. We will finish him off in no time. Think of all the great and glorious deeds of your past. Did you not defeat Kubera in battle and win from him his Pushpaka Vimana and even his golden island of Lanka? Have you not vanquished all the Devas, Gandharvas and Asuras? Have you not received countless boons from the gods themselves? Can anyone be your equal in battle? You have on your side some of the bravest warriors on earth. Your son Indrajit had conquered even Indra and made him prisoner. Do not even think about your little act of carrying away Sita. It does not matter at all. Here and now we can say the victory shall be yours." His Rakshasa generals, Prashta, Durmukha, Prahasta, Durmukha, Vajradamshtra, Nikumba and others said, "We alone can finish off this man Rama and his brother Lakshmana. Our swords are thirsting for their blood. Our stomachs are hungry for their flesh. Then we shall eat up with relish the entire Vanara army. Why make such a fuss over a solitary monkey's undeserved luck? Do not be anxious. We shall deal properly with the enemy. Hail Ravana and glory to you. All glory to you." When a man has lost his reason and is advised by foolish ministers, his ruin is certain. Ravana was indeed a very great king, but he had become proud. His ministers too were Asuric Rakshasas who had taken to evil ways. The evil can give the evil nothing but evil counsel. The Rakshasas drew their swords, thrust them in the air and shouted victory to Ravana. Ravana was thrilled at the loyalty and support he got from his Rakshasas. But one figure stood up silently and hushed the assembly. It was Ravana's younger brother Vibhishana. He said, "Brother, do not listen to foolish counsel of your ministers. They point to the path of the ruin. In the first place, it was morally wrong to carry off Rama's wife. We must first put right this great wrong. We must restore Sita to Rama. If you were angry with Rama, you should have challenged him to battle. But it was a cowardly act to carry away his wife. Let us seek peace with him now. I have heard he is very kind and forgiving. He will not punish you for this misdeed of yours. Since we are in the wrong, we must not seek battle with the Vanaras. Besides, it is necessary first to know the strength of the army, strength of the enemy. We have already had a taste of it at the hands of Hanuman. It is stupid and vainglorious not to pay heed to the damage and chaos he has wrought in Lanka. Therefore, dear brother, listen to my words. Do not be angry with me. Let us return Sita to Rama. Let us call a truce with him and be happy." Vibhishana pleaded with Ravana with hands folded. His words were like a cold shower on the burning fever of Ravana's enthusiasm. He became a little thoughtful. Then he said, "The meeting is adjourned now. We shall meet again to decide the matter." Early next morning, Vibhishana went to Ravana and tried again to reason with him. Ravana sent out all his other ministers. Then Vibhishana began, "Brother, I have thought over the matter carefully. My words may not sound sweet to your ears, But listen to me. Ever since Sita was brought to Lanka, we have had a spell of misfortune. Everywhere we see signs of ill omen. The sacrificial fires do not accept the offering. Snakes crawl in places of worship. Ants eat up offerings. The cows have run dry and refuse to yield milk. The animals fall sick and behave strangely. Wolves howl in the streets. Crops have started failing. Heed my words, dear brother. Let us return Sita to her people and save our Lanka from complete ruin. Ravana looked at his brother with great anger. Never will I return Sita. If that is all you have to say, you may go. Although he put on a brave front, Ravana was really very disturbed, but his sense of pride and injured vanity kept him going on the wrong path. He summoned his golden chariot. He had dressed today with greater care than usual. He was wearing a fresh silken garb. The sandal paste was on his forehead. His jewels of gold and precious stones shone brighter than usual. As he was about to leave his palace, his wife Mandodari came and clasped her lord's feet. With tears in her eyes, she said, "My lord, do not involve yourself deeper in this sin. Sita has acted like poison for us. She has brought nothing but trouble. Soon she will bring death to you. We have all seen the dash and daring of Rama's envoy. Rama's arrows are like serpent darts. I heard it said, and the Rakshasas are like hordes of frogs. The serpents will surely swallow up the frogs. Please, my lord, I do not see anything good in this for you. Return Sita and let us be happy." She wept at his feet and pleaded over and over again. Mandodari was a good woman and was devoted to her husband. She could not bear to see him ruin himself. But Ravana just gave a derisive laugh. He hugged her affectionately and said, "A woman's fears. I'll be laughed at if I listen to you. Besides, there is no need for you to be afraid. I have vanquished great celestial heroes in battles. These human worms do not count at all." He climbed into the waiting chariot and rode down to Council Hall. People in the streets bowed before his regal splendor. At the council hall, many fierce Rakshasas stood guard. As their king walked in, trumpets were sounded, scented water was sprinkled. The air was heavy with rich perfume. Ravana climbed onto his agate throne and surveyed the assembly. His courage mounted up. Once again, his ministers praised his virtues and overlooked his vices. Once again in the assembly, Vibhishana rose and clasping his brother's feet offered him good counsel. This time Ravana was truly enraged and shouted, "Traitor, why do you take the side of the enemy? It is quite true that in times of distress a brother will always forsake another. I know you are jealous of my wealth, power and position. You cannot stand any good that may come to me. If anyone had spoken to me as you have done, I would have had him killed then and there. But you are my brother. You wretch, you are a disgrace to our noble Rakshasa race." Ravana's insults were more than what Vibhishana could bear. He gathered himself up quietly and said, "Brother, I have tried to advise you on the path of Dharma. My love for you made me speak to you in your interest. True, I have not spoken to you words dripping with honey, but at least I have spoken the truth. Now do as you consider best. I have never envied your good fortune, brother. I pray that God may give you right understanding." Vibhishana left the court with 4 faithful Rakshasas. They realized now that Lanka had no place for them. They sacrificed all their belongings and possessions in Lanka and rising in the sky flew towards Rama's encampment. They knew now that their only refuge was at the Lord's feet. Valmiki says that the insult of a righteous man always results in disaster for the one who insults. When Vibhishana thus flew in the air, with Rama alone in his heart, the death of Ravana and his evil-minded counselors was quite sealed. They were now completely hemmed in from all sides. There was no escape for them. Vibhishana granted refuge. As the Vanaras were planning their next move, they saw in the sky 5 huge black forms flying towards them. Recognizing them as Rakshasas, they alerted themselves and got their weapons ready to bring them down. Vibhishana saw all this from above, but he was not scared at all. He called out and said, I am Vibhishana, the younger brother of Ravana. I advised him time and again to give up his evil ways and to return Sita, but he has rejected my advice. We have realized that Lanka has no place for us now. We have come to seek shelter at the feet of Sri Rama. Please tell him that Vibhishana is at his service. Sugriva was very suspicious as to Vibhishana's true motives. He went to Rama and gave him the news. He said, I do not trust this fellow. After all, he is a Rakshasa and is capable of doing all sorts of things with his Maya. Let us send him off. If we allow him to enter our camp, he will leak our secrets to Ravana. Better not take the risk. Rama turned to the Vanara leaders and said, Advise me, what should I do? Ravana's brother has come to ask us for protection. Tell me frankly, each of you, what you make of it. They gave him their various opinions. Some said Vibhishana should be brought to be questioned. Some said he was not to be trusted at all, while some said his motives should be tested. After hearing all these diverse opinions, Rama turned to Hanuman. Hanuman folded his hands and spoke with reverence. My lord, what is it that you do not know? Not even Brahaspati, the teacher of the gods, can tell you anything. Personally, I do not suspect Vibhishana's motives. Although he is a Rakshasa, he has an honest face. Should we be surprised that he has become disgusted with Ravana's wicked ways? Besides, he has come to us with an open declaration of his purpose. He has not approached us stealthily. I see no harm in accepting him as a friend. Rama said, Hanuman, I am happy to see your wisdom. I think you are right. We should accept Vibhishana. According to right policy, it is proper that we should do so. But above all, it is against my nature to send away anyone who comes to me for shelter. If I do not grant refuge to those who seek it, I shall be going against my very dharma. Listen, ye all, I tell you, even if Ravana himself were to seek refuge with me, I would not deny him. I would gladly embrace him in love. Sugriva was still doubtful. My lord, he said, how can we trust a man who has fought with his own brother? Suppose he betrays us next? At this, Rama turned to Lakshmana with a little smile. Had Sugriva forgotten his own strife with Bali? Then he said, Sugriva, Vibhishana had a reason for leaving Ravana. He will have none for leaving us. O Lakshmana, will the world ever produce such a brother as our Bharat again? How loving, how sacrificing he is. Rama and Lakshmana were lost for a moment as their minds flew back to the virtues of their Bharat. Then Rama said, Sugriva, do ask Vibhishana to come into my presence. He has asked for my protection. It's my very dharma to grant it. Thus spoke Rama, his kind, generous heart filled with mercy and kindness, even towards the brother of a bitter foe. Vibhishana and his Rakshasa friends came forward and clasped Rama's feet. Lovingly, Rama embraced them. Rama asked Lakshmana and Angada to fetch sea water. A simple abhisheka was performed. Vibhishana was crowned king of Lanka. The bridge is constructed. Vibhishana gave them all a true picture of the preparations going on in Lanka. But their immediate hurdle was to cross the sea. Under the advice of the elders, Rama undertook a fast to request the sea god to help them. He spread the darba grass on the seashore and sat down on it. He prayed to the sea god and requested his help. 3 days passed. No help seemed forthcoming. Finally, Rama got up in a rage and said, Lakshmana, fetch my bows and arrows. I shall dry up the ocean. I shall choke it with a dead fish. Their stink will rise to the high heavens. I will teach the ocean a lesson. One snake-like dart after another struck the bosom of the ocean. The waves were in a state of turmoil. Animals in the sea started perishing. Then the ocean god himself rose from the deep depths of the sea. He offered Rama the treasures of the ocean on a golden platter and pleaded for mercy. He said, Lord, how can I cleave a way for you by going against my very nature, which is to be deep, infinite, ever filled with water, difficult to cross over? But I shall suggest to you a course of action. Follow that. You will surely reach the shores of Lanka. You have in your army a mighty Vanara called Nala. He is the son of Vishwakarma and an excellent engineer. Ask him to lead in the construction of a causeway across to Lanka. I will do my bit by bearing the entire weight upon my chest and holding together the boulders and trees. This is my humble request to you, Lord. Lord, please do not be angry with me. The 5 elements, ether, air, fire, water, and earth, have each been created with their own distinctive natures. How could I go against mine and dry up? I pray thee, heed my humble counsel and start the construction work immediately. Rama smiled and readily forgave him. Nala was then appointed chief engineer. The Vanaras made a lot of noise as they worked. They brought huge boulders, uprooted massive trees. They even lifted big hills from the very base and flung them into the ocean. With every step they shouted, Jai Rama! Victory, victory to Rama! The waters of the ocean rose high as it received the heavy bridge on its bosom. Nobody rested. Everyone worked as if his life depended on it. Stunned, the 4 quarters of the earth stared at this marvelous feat of engineering was being accomplished. The first day saw the causeway 14 leagues long. By the second day, another 20 leagues had been added. By the 5th day, the entire bridge was ready, stretching from the southernmost tip of Bharat to the very shores of Lanka. Built entirely by an enthusiastic band of Vanaras with the simplest of materials, trees, sand and stones. And what cemented it together was the magic of Rama's name as they threw in their bits into the ocean. With resounding shouts of triumph, the Vanaras threaded their way over the causeway into Lanka. Hanuman carried Rama on his shoulder and Angada carried Lakshmana. One of Ravana's spies, who had come to bribe Sugriva away from Rama's side, was caught by the Vanaras and given a thorough beating before he was released.